Good morning. I think we're going to get started now. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Friday. Feels like winter finally, right? Okay. Well, my name's Marcus Henry. I'm with our Newcastle County Department of Community Services. Welcome, welcome, welcome to 48 South Cannon Drive. I want to thank everyone taking time out of their busy schedule to attend this event. I want to welcome members of the community who are here with us today. Especially want to welcome our friends from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, our strong partners, starting with Mr. Joe DeFelice, Region 3 Administrator. Thank you, Joe. Also, our dear friends, Nadab Bynum and Maria Bynum. Thank you. And then those other folks, I'm going to get Lisa and other folks back there. Thank you very much for attending. Okay? Thank you. Starting with the mayor of this area, our Councilman John Cartier. He's a councilman, but I like calling the mayor for the council. Thank you.
I'm over by the fridge.
All right. I see you. Okay. All right. Congressional delegation cannot be here with us today, but they've always been very supportive, obviously, of these programs. We appreciate their support for this. I'd like to really welcome up first, I think the guy that really makes all this happen for us, the Newcastle County government. From day one, our county executive, Matt Meyer, has been the strongest proponent for affordable housing and reducing the vacant housing blight in our area, and we're so appreciative of that. So with that, I'd like to call him up for a few remarks. Our county executive, Matt Meyer.
Thank you so much, Marcus. It's great to be here today with not just so many honored guests who pull out of the budget strings to make things like this happen, and county councilmen who make sure not only that he votes in a way that things like this can happen, but is constantly a voice and an advocate to make sure that we're moving forward with projects like this, but also so many people who are here today who are actually on the ground, not only doing the work to fix the problems that we see in the community, but voicing the concerns of the community. This street, this South Cannon Drive, holds particular importance to me. A few months into my term, first time elected in office, we had a police program that ran down here, a police community program. And there were a number of people in our police department who didn't think it made sense in terms of what the police department was doing and in terms of their budget. So we decided to close that program, to shut it off. That program was doing a lot of community work down here. And I heard right away from Michelle LaMonica and Karen Cheeseman, who I know were here, and they said, you can't shut down this program. And then I came down here one night, and the argument that Councilman Cartier made was strong to keep the program. The argument that Michelle and Karen Cheeseman and Shannon and so many others made was strong. But there were kids in a house just like this right around the corner, a community-owned house. And they came and they said, you cannot shut down this program. And I stood there as someone who, prior to being in this office, was a 6th and 7th grade teacher, and I said, this is exactly what I wanted my kids to do. Representative John Lewis, who some of you may know, a former aide to Martin Luther King, encourages people to get in trouble. He says, get out there in the world and get in trouble, but get in the right kind of trouble. And those kids reminded me that they're out there getting in the right kind of trouble, and we need, as your government, to get in the right kind of trouble too. And this house is a representation of what Michelle and Karen and those kids are doing in this community. Getting in trouble, saying the way things are is not the way it will continue to be. And we're going to stand up and change that, and we're going to make sure our government leaders do it. And if they don't, we're going to get in their face and make sure that they do. This house in particular, since 2000, has been, I think, a source of blight for the neighborhood. A source of $17,000 in code fees on this one property alone. Jim Smith is in back, and he knows how many times code enforcement officers came here and came into so many properties across this county. And 2.5 years ago, we set out to address that problem, a problem that had gone on really for over a decade, since the housing crisis back in 2007, 2008, 2009. The county government, like so many governments, stopped bringing properties to sheriff's sale. We didn't want to take good faith homeowners into sheriff's sale, put them into trouble if they got underwater with their mortgage. But what happened by not doing that for a series of years is these properties just kept increasing across our county, so that there were nearly 1,300 of them, vacant delinquent properties, when I came into office. Now, thanks to the tremendous work of Rich Hall, our general manager of land use, who is here, Andrea Almond, my chief of staff, Marcus Henry, who runs community services, and the one and only, the extraordinary Carrie Casey and her team. Yeah, good Carrie. Working in partnership with ANAS and the Delaware State Housing Authority, Joe, Marie, and everyone at HUD on the federal level, we're turning around properties like this across the county. There's been a 38% reduction in these vacant delinquent properties across the county. We've generated nearly $2 million in tax money, most of it going to our schools, money that was not collected before and now will be collected on an annual basis for our schools. And all I can say in closing is that I know Paul Pantano, the real estate agent, is here. And you know, when you market this thing, it looks like we can throw a party for like 50 in here. Yeah. So thanks so much for being here. I realize I'm largely speaking to the choir. I'm the mouthpiece for this. I'm the guy that pulls some segment of the budget strings for it. But the people who are on the ground making this happen are here today. And I cannot thank you enough for not only doing something that's really good for government, but ultimately is going to create an opportunity for a family to buy an affordable house that by law is going to stay an affordable house for at least the next decade. So thank you so much.
Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Joe DeFelice. He's the Regional Administrator for Region 3 of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Mr. DeFelice was appointed by President Donald Trump as this administrator. Region 3, if you don't know, includes Delaware, the District of Columbia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and West Virginia. But Joe spends a lot of time in Delaware. We appreciate that. Thank you, Joe. All right? Okay. Thank you, Joe. Okay.
That's a good way to start, right?
There we go.
There we go. Thanks, Marcus. County Executive, Councilman, Anas, Carrie, everybody here. You know, I used to get in the wrong kind of trouble on a regular basis, but I eventually turned my life around. I'm here with you all today. But, you know, this is really important to me, and I have some really nice words that someone else wrote that I'll read in a minute. You know, seeing the blight turnaround is something that I've kind of prided myself on, is going through this region. As they said, I mean, I go as far west as West Virginia, as far south as Virginia, and all the way up north through Scranton. And blighted properties are a major issue throughout this region, more so than what my counterparts have in you know, California, Arizona. I mean, I flew into Phoenix a couple months ago, and I was shocked that there was like no soot and everything was brand new. You know, you fly into Philly International, you don't always get that same view. So, but really going around and seeing the local approaches to government. I mean, a lot of times we take these federal, you know, a lot of times the federal government wants to come in and tell local governments how to do their job. But this is the example of the opposite of that. It's trusting the local government and the local residents to tell the federal government how they want to spend the money that we give them. And it works better that way. It shouldn't be us coming in from Washington with a bunch of really smart people telling you in your neighborhood in Edgemoor Gardens what's best for your neighborhood. It should be the people from Edgemoor Gardens talking to their city, talking to their county, to talk to their federal government about what's best for Edgemoor Gardens. You know, the program that we're going to talk about in a minute was it was started back in 2008. And Maria, how long you been with HUD?
16 years.
16 years. Well, Nadab, how long you been with HUD? Too long. Okay. So you guys were back before this, right? Okay. I'm asking because that's when this began. This began in 2008. It was created to provide emergency assistance to state and local governments like our partners here today, to acquire, redevelop foreclosed properties that might otherwise be sources of abandonment and blight within communities like Edgemoor. It was funded 3 years in a row, 2008, 2009, and 2010, and has not been funded since, and it's what we call an inactive program. However, what you can see here is this is not inactivity. It's because of good government and good leadership that the county continues to revolve their neighborhood stabilization program funding. NSP is funding the rehabilitation of this home as well as 3 others in this neighborhood. So obviously it's hardly inactive. About 10 years ago, Newcastle County received about $14 million in funding through NSP 1, 2, and 3. The funds were awarded to the Delaware State Housing Authority by HUD. Since those initial awards were made, Newcastle County has generated over $13 million in program income from the sale of the home. So the money's coming in, and then they're utilizing that to find more money to do even more work. So yes, it's a cycle. The county then uses the program income to purchase more vacant and distressed properties in NSP-eligible areas. With NSP funds, the county has positively impacted 347 housing units. Wow. Think about that. That means that 347 families have better housing thanks to their good work. In Edgemoor Gardens, this is the 11th home with 3 more additional homes purchased for future renovation. I know this sounds like a lot of numbers, but I'm guessing when Michelle comes up here, the resident, the homeowner, it'll speak in a few minutes. We'll all recognize one house means one happy homeowner and one happy family. But that's not where HUD support ends. Each year, Newcastle County uses community block grant funding. That's funding directly from HUD to support a community-wide community cleanup. That's when you'll see the Edgemoor Garden Civic Association partnership with the councilman and then the Newcastle County council member in the annual spring cleaning. In 2009, Newcastle County CDBG funds were used for the acquisition and renovation of the Edgemoor Gardens Revitalization Cooperative. The ERC Community Center is located just a few doors down from this property and offers community programs for youth and adults. The county also provides small CDBG operating grants to the programs offered at the ERC. Newcastle County also used funding from HUD's Home Investment Partnership Program with NSP funding to complete 10 additional homes in 2012. So you can kind of see the breadth of where all this is. The homes are renovated and then sold to income-eligible homeowners with a 15-year deed restriction that the homeowner remain a home ownership unit. So the idea is that someone doesn't buy it and immediately flips it for rental property. A few of those homes are here in this neighborhood. There's one on South Cannon Drive, there's one on North Cannon Drive, and there's another one down the block. But I believe Ms. Rouse, when she comes up, was the first homeowner to acquire one of these duly funded homes in the community. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct? Great. Awesome. So that's what we kind of, and your mom lives next door?
That's correct.
See, now I would have bought next door to my mom, but my wife would have killed me. I'd have been totally fine with it. So I moved a block and a half away, and when I did it, I went like around this way. And then after we put a bid on the house, we went back that way, and my wife said, "Whoa, we're that close?" She didn't realize. So anyway, that's your tax dollars at work. And I understand you're also the civic president?
Yes.
That's awesome. See, that's what so before I came to HUD, that's what I did. I was a civic association president for 10 years in Northeast Philadelphia. And it really helps you kind of understand what's going on in your neighborhood, and the fact that you're living in your neighborhood and you're making a house by house, block by block approach revitalization really, really goes a long way. So I appreciate you having me here, and sorry if I was a little choppy, and because I had to use this pen that Maria gave me, and it didn't look that professional, so I didn't get a chance to write more notes. Thank you.
I need a piece of paper. It's now my distinct pleasure to introduce Director of Delaware State Housing Authority, Nas Ben-Adi. I'm happy to say I've known Nas for almost 20 years. He was a child prodigy. If not for Nas and his team at DSHA, I think we wouldn't be here, to be honest with you. It's a strong partnership we have with Newcastle County and this state. And as Joe mentioned earlier, 437 units affected by this. So it was good leverage funding. Thank you for your support for that. Nas Ben-Adi.
Well, thank you, Marcus. I'm amazed at the before and after. I mean, when I have seen some before and afters, and when I cannot see the inside, but I can tell you, when you have vegetation growing that you didn't intend for to be growing on the side, there is a lot of work to make it look like what we see here. So folks who have been directly, not you, Marcus, not I, who signed the paperwork and all the agreements, but folks who have been directly involved in this work, if you can just raise your hand if we have some of you them here. They're hiding in the kitchen. Here we go. Thank you. I want to also thank couples. Thank God I look that way, because two of my staff who have worked with the county on these allocations, Cindy Dekine and Angie Lord, thank you for being here. Well, thank you, County Exec. Thank you, Marcus, Carrie, and the whole team, because you guys have been a great partners of us with the NSP and now the Strong Neighborhood Housing Fund. So this house, we're celebrating this unit, but as Joe mentioned and the County Exec mentioned, this is much more than one unit. Yes, it's a family coming to an affordable opportunity, but we're doing this for much more than that short-term objective. We're doing it for a community stabilization, community development. So as the county executive mentioned, and something that I talk about a lot, and sorry if I'm repeating myself, and some of you have heard this speech before, but we are in campaign season, so replaying audio clips and all that stuff is normal. But we, we had, before the financial crisis, we didn't see some of these sore pockets because there was high demand. There was financing, there were investors there buying. So you went to some of these neighborhoods and prices were very, very high. There was inflation that we haven't seen before. But what happened after the financial crisis is that demand has gone down drastically. So folks, home buyers, investors, first of all, they don't have access to the funding to buy. And when they do, they have many choices. So what happened is that we have seen some of these vacant blight properties in some of these pockets, like here, like we were 4 weeks ago in Overlook Colony. We see some of them, like the work we're doing in Route 9 corridor, in the city itself. Some of these pockets that even after the rebound, after the financial crisis, they were not able to take advantage of that rebound. And some of it is attached to housing, some of it is attached to other factors, school, crime, other issues that some of these communities might be living through. So with the work that started with the NSP and building on that capacity, we were able, with the help of many of you, to advocate, not to use the word lobby, to advocate for additional funding from the states to continue that work, to not lose that capacity and that expertise that was created through the NSP. So what happened is, if you remember, there was a bank settlement a few years back where Delaware was awarded, among many other states, settlement from few banks. And we were able to attract, in 2 rounds, to attract about 11 million that came to DSHA to offer gap funding to partners. Among them was Newcastle County. And the gap funding was important because some of the folks are debating this issue. Why are we subsidizing this? Why don't we let the for-profit take care of it? Well, there is no for-profit market. There is no for-profit investor, as I said before, that will come in and break even or lose money. It doesn't happen. I mean, this is expensive work. You get in here, you spend, I don't know, 180, 200,000 between the acquisition, the gut rehab, or acquisition, demolition, and build new. And then when you appraise, because it's distressed market, you appraise at 140, 150. So there is no way a private investor is going to lose 50, 60,000. So that's why we come in and play to offer that gap funding, that 50,000 to make this deal work. Hopefully that by future rounds we will offer less and we will use less. And maybe down the road we won't have to because the market will take care of itself. So really that's the concept, and that's what we sold to our legislators to get hold of the 11 million, and that's what we sold to Governor Carney, that was able to put as an item in the budget for a 3 million recurring allocation every year to continue this work. And Newcastle County was awarded 2.3 million from the 11 million, I think, to impact 43, 45 units in different communities, with 400,000 going to this community. But one of the things that's impressed me the most is that Newcastle County was the first to finish and sell the homes on the first round of Strong Neighborhood. They actually finished and sold 8 houses before the next allocatee was able to get done one house. So, I mean, the capacity, the leverage, the ability to get the money out and sell them. Because if you are in this business, gut rehab is difficult, but selling and being able to sell the story to a homeowner to come to these communities so we can start that ripple effect is very hard as well. And we have many examples of properties that are the Taj Mahal, but because of the community, they were not able to sell them and get the demand for some of these properties. So to the county, thank you for the partnership. Thank you for the collaboration. And Jihad, thank you for the NSP. I remember those days, Nadab, and I remember those calls to get the money out and to get it revolving. So thank you for all your leadership with that program. Thank you.
You know, and Nas mentioned that I think, you know, obviously with our partnership with the county, I don't know where she is, but where's Carrie Casey? Carrie, come over here for a second. Come over here, come on. I know it's a team, but why don't you come first? Okay. All right, all right. So in all this that happens in this program for the last 10 years, I mean, and obviously our tremendous staff over here, Carrie Casey is the linchpin of all this thing. I just want to be recognized publicly for that.
Thank you, but it's
Also, a sneak preview, we're going to be issuing this report next week. It's called Vacant Spaces to Livable Places. It's our annual report. It'll be issued publicly next week. I want to thank my friend and colleague from Land Use, Mr. Rich Hall, and his staff. Where are you, Rich? Rich Hall, great job. Also, Jim Smith over there too. Thank you, Jim. Okay, Jim. Also want to thank Andre Allman for her leadership as Chief of Staff, spearheading this effort on behalf of the Executive Office. Thank you very much. Andre, come on. Okay. Thank you. It's now my pleasure and honor to introduce the County Councilman for this area, Mr. John Cartier. John, through his entire career, has been the strongest advocate for housing and the rights of those to have affordable housing. We really appreciate that. Even my days when I worked at the Delaware State Housing Authority, John always rang the bell in terms of the needs for this service. And we appreciate him now. We appreciate him then. Thank you, John Cartier.
Thank you. This is a day I'm so pleased to be here with all these great decision makers in government, our funders, you know, in HUD and with the Delaware State Housing Authority. And I just want to, you know, underscore to these folks that when you give Newcastle County government housing money, we put it to work. We don't play around, we get the job done. We have a great department, Community Services, Carrie Casey, Marcus Henry is the manager, and we make sure that this work is getting done. And I also want to thank our dynamic county executive. It's true, when we had the new election coming in and he came into office, we had this huge overhang of decrepit, derelict, vacant properties, which was, you know, devastating communities, causing, you know, issues of crime and issues of blight. And they made a very concerted effort working with County Council and our community services to address this. And this today is an example of that continuing effort. I can tell you that as a councilman for this area for 16 years, we have no greater friends today working with Edgemoor Gardens than this administration led by Matt Meyer. It's not only the housing, which is very critical. We have outreach with youth he talked about. We have you know, a new community park. I just want to underscore that for recreation for the area youth, which is a highly utilized new county park asset. So all in all, I'm very pleased. We're making great progress, and I can say that in the foreseeable future, Edgemoor Gardens will become a place of housing opportunity, a thriving community where people can come and live a great, you know, quality of life and raise a family and attend the local schools, get a job. And in that vein, one of the things I just want to put on everybody's radar screen, you know, I had the privilege of looking recently at the new site plan for the Edgemoor Port expansion, which will be a large job generator, container port operation at the old, you know, titanium dioxide plant, Edgemoor, DuPont, and Chemours. And that is a critical piece. Many people in the original iterations of this community, which dates back pretty much to the late 30s and early 40s, they worked in plants on the river. And now I'm hoping that we're going to have a new rebirth, a new comeback based on those kind of jobs being created, because people are going to want to live near where they work. And this community is well placed for that. It has affordable homes, housing stock. They're nice units when they're renovated. Look at the beauty of this place today. And I think it's going to be a really very interesting time frame going forward as that that job creation scenario unfolds. So I'm looking forward to being part of that. And I'm also proud to introduce someone who took advantage of this great housing renovation effort that the county's led. And she came back to the community to be a leader in her community. She grew up here, and she came back and is now the Civic Association president. And I work very closely with that organization on all the issues of Edgemore Gardens. So, Michelle, come to the microphone and let us know how great things are. Come on, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So I just want to touch on a couple of things that were already mentioned. It's coming up on a year now, almost a year, that we were able to have our grand opening of the park around the corner here on South Cannon. So we are so grateful and appreciative for the county and everybody who was involved to help us get the funding for that, as well as get it moving. The workers that were there, they were amazing, and so it's just been a blessing to have in the community. And then addition, now we have this going on, so more exciting things that are just taking place here, and they're going to continue. And then I also have to mention Carrie as well. Carrie Casey is absolutely amazing, and she deserves all the kudos in the world. So I first met Carrie when I purchased my house, and so it's been a relationship ever since, and we've been, feeding off of each other and working together and trying to make things really happen here in Edgemore. With that said, this year actually marks 8 years since I purchased the house here and moved back into Edgemore Gardens. And as was mentioned before, I grew up here and ended up purchasing the house next door to my mom. And, some people, as you said, some people think that's nuts and crazy. But, for me, I saw an opportunity. And this was just not an investment for me and my family, but an investment into the neighborhood. And I'm proud to say that I was the first to purchase one of the 10 newly affordable renovated homes. Before buying our house, my husband and I lived across town in Little Italy. Every day I would come here to check on my mom's house and walk my dog. In 2012, I started to notice there were several homes under construction all at the same time. I soon learned this was an initiative to revitalize the neighborhood. This type of revitalization effort is a vision I always saw for Edgemore, and I knew that I had to be part of this one. Additionally, what I learned was that these renovated homes were an affordable housing and homeownership opportunity for moderate to low-income families. And at the time, when I was the sole provider for our household, this opportunity was right on time. It opened up the door for us to become homeowners and say goodbye to renting. And by June of 2012, we were homeowners with a mortgage lower than what we were paying in rent. Since moving back, my family, along with other longtime residents of Edgemore and the Newcastle County government, have been working together to continue to find ways not only to change the quality of life here, but to change the neighborhood's appearance. Collectively, we have identified vacant properties to be rehabilitated and placed on the market for homeownership like the one we are in today. 48 South Cannon is a continuation of Edgemore Gardens' efforts to offer the opportunity for affordable homeownership. Not only does this benefit the appearance of the neighborhood, but this effort will eventually flip the imbalance ratio from rental properties to homeowners. As most of us know, Edgemore Gardens currently has its fair share of rental properties and quite a few bad acting landlords. This chance for affordable housing is a step in the right direction to rid vacant properties, put pressure on the bad acting landlords to do their part in the upkeep of their properties, and to help restore Edgemore Gardens to a beautiful, family-oriented place to live. Thank you.
Now the best part. We're gonna go outside, we're gonna put the for sale sign in, so I invite everybody outside so we can put the for sale sign. This is gonna be priced at $99.9, which is a good price here for this neighborhood. So please join us outside. Thank you. Thank you.